Welcome back to the Expat Financial Blueprint. You know, we always get so many questions about retiring in Vietnam, and we thought it'd be fun to, well, to just dive right into it. I mean, who wouldn't be tempted right now?
Yeah.
Vietnam has it all, right? I mean,
Mm.
incredible food, super friendly people, those amazing landscapes.
Yeah, and not to mention that cost of living.
Right. Seems so much easier to make your money stretch here compared to back home.
Absolutely, it's a huge draw for a lot of people. We hear about it all the time at Wealth Architects Global.
Well, let's get right to it then. When we talk about retiring in Vietnam, we need to be upfront about the fact that it's not as simple as it might seem at first.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just like booking that one-way ticket and then, hitting the beach.
Right. There are things you really need to think about carefully.
Exactly.
Starting with, well, let's be honest here. This is the one that tends to really throw people off. The visa situation.
Yeah, the visa situation, it's often a bit of a surprise for people who've, kind of already fallen in love with the idea of Vietnam. There isn't a straightforward retirement visa.
Mm.
Most retirees here end up kind of working around it by staying on those tourist visas, the longer term ones, or they'll set up a small business just to, qualify for a different type of visa.
So that whole vision of just kicking back and relaxing on the beach all day, well, that might need a little bit of a reality check.
Yeah, it's definitely more of an active retirement scene here in Vietnam. You do need to be somewhat engaged, whether it's keeping up with visa renewals or maybe even like exploring a business venture just to stay here long term.
Okay, so speaking of those business ventures, that's another thing we hear a lot of people, well, kind of fantasizing about. Opening up a charming little cafe in Hoi An or maybe a boutique in Saigon.
Yeah, it does sound idyllic, doesn't it?
It does.
And you know what? It can be incredibly rewarding, but it is essential to go into it with a really clear understanding of, what the local business landscape is like. Yeah. It's not always easy. There are cultural nuances here, like, for example, gift giving, that can be really important and might not be so obvious to people coming from other cultures.
Right. And we've also all heard stories about, expats who maybe pour their heart and soul into a business here, and then they run into these unexpected challenges later on.
Sadly, those stories aren't just hearsay. They do happen.
Oh.
So if anyone out there listening is even thinking about the business route, maybe just toying with the idea, our biggest piece of advice would be get some solid guidance from trusted local professionals before you sign on that dotted line.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. All right, let's switch gears a bit here to another topic that I think deserves a good dose of reality, and that's pollution. We can't sugarcoat it. Those bigger cities, like Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City,
Mm-hmm.
do have some pretty significant pollution problems that you need to be aware of.
Yeah, for sure.
We're talking about air quality, water quality, even like noise pollution, all things that can impact your daily life.
And potentially your health, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something to weigh very seriously.
Yeah.
So I guess that's maybe why we're seeing these smaller, quieter cities like Da Nang, Hoi An, and Nha Trang. They're becoming more and more popular with expats.
Yeah. They definitely offer a bit of a cleaner environment.
Yeah, so that's a trade-off to think about.
Yeah.
The energy and excitement of a big city versus maybe the peace and cleaner air of a smaller place.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually brings us to another important point that I think a lot of people don't really consider up front. Land ownership.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It's just not as straightforward in Vietnam as it might be in some other countries.
Right. It can be tricky. In most cases, foreigners, especially those coming from, Western countries, they can't buy land directly in Vietnam.
Right.
You can own apartments, but even getting a mortgage can be a challenge sometimes.
Yeah, it can be tough.
We've seen some people try to work around this by marrying a local partner, but honestly, that opens up a whole other set of legal issues and potential risks that you really need to be aware of.
Definitely not a decision to be made lightly.
Not at all.
So, all right, let's shift gears and talk about the financial side of things. The good news, at least, is that accessing your pension in Vietnam is generally not a big issue these days. I mean, the banking system here has evolved quite a bit.
Oh, it has, for sure. It's a lot easier than it used to be.
But one thing we always emphasize at Wealth Architects Global is the importance of keeping the bulk of your assets offshore.
Yeah, I mean, it's really about peace of mind.
Right. It's about ensuring that you've got that financial security and maybe even taking advantage of, potential tax benefits and just having that extra layer of protection.
Absolutely. And having a good international financial planner can really help with all of that.
Yeah, they can help navigate the complexities of managing your finances across borders. Okay, so let's talk about banking. When it comes to banking in Vietnam, we usually recommend setting up two accounts. One with a digital bank, like Wise or Revolut, and the other with a local Vietnamese bank.
Yeah, that's a good strategy.
Digital banks are great for moving money around internationally,
Oh, super convenient.
but they might not offer the same level of protection as traditional banks, so we don't usually advise keeping large sums of money in those accounts.
Right, they're great for day-to-day spending and transferring money in and out, but yeah, not for keeping your life savings.
Right, and then you've got the local Vietnamese bank account, which is just essential for everyday transactions here. Our advice on that is to stick with the larger, more reputable banks in Vietnam.
Absolutely. Peace of mind, again.
Yeah, for sure. And while we're talking about peace of mind, let's not forget about that emergency fund. You always want to have a liquid emergency fund set aside.
Always, always.
Enough to cover at least 6 months of living expenses, a flight back home if you need it, and any potential medical insurance deductibles you might have.
Yeah, you just never know what might happen.
And speaking of health, that's a big one when you're thinking about retiring abroad. Here in Vietnam, there's a big difference between those local government hospitals and the private hospitals.
It's a huge difference for sure. Government hospitals, they're really focused on those basic treatments. And, well, let's be honest, hygiene standards can be a concern. Whereas those private hospitals, they offer a much higher level of care, and it's a much more comfortable experience overall.
Yeah, it's a big difference. So for us, that makes having comprehensive international medical insurance absolutely non-negotiable when you're retiring in Vietnam.
Absolutely crucial.
It's about having that safety net, knowing that you can access the best possible care if you need it. All right, so while we're on the topic of being prepared, let's not forget the legal side of things.
Right.
Having an up-to-date will is crucial before you even think about moving to Vietnam.
Absolutely. Cannot emphasize that enough.
It's one of those things that's so easy to put off.
Yeah, but it saves your loved ones so much stress and ensures that your estate is managed according to your wishes.
Right. And these days, it's not just about having a will. It's also about being really aware of the increasing sophistication of scams.
Oh, yeah, scams.
We're talking about AI-generated voices
Yeah.
and deepfake videos.
It's crazy, right? A whole new level of deception out there.
It is. And unfortunately, Vietnam has its share of scams, often targeting, older single men. Not saying that everyone is out to get you, but it's really smart to be discerning, trust your instincts, and be cautious about your personal interactions.
Exactly. If something feels off, it probably is.
Right. Okay, so we've covered some of those, heavier topics, I guess. Let's move on to something a little more fun.
Sounds good.
Exploring those popular retirement havens in Vietnam.
All right, let's take a virtual tour.
Let's do it, starting with Hanoi, the capital.
Oh, Hanoi, steeped in history, that old world charm, those French colonial buildings, laid back atmosphere.
It's magical.
It really is, but you do have to consider those cold winters, the pollution that we talked about, and just the fact that it is a bustling city with all the noise that goes along with that.
Yeah, those trade-offs, right.
For sure.
Now, on to Ho Chi Minh City, or Saigon, as many people still call it. It's the complete opposite of Hanoi. It's a vibrant, energetic metropolis, a city that truly never sleeps.
Yeah, if you thrive on that kind of energy, then Saigon is the place to be. But if you're looking for something a bit quieter, there are some calmer neighborhoods like Thao Dien,
Yeah.
It's all about finding the right spot for you.
Right, finding your niche. For those who crave a more, a more relaxed vibe maybe, let's head to the Central Coast, Da Nang and Hoi An.
Yeah, these are real hot spots for expats these days, and it's easy to see why.
Absolutely, Da Nang. Beautiful beaches. It's more affordable than those big cities, and there's so much to do, right?
You've got marathon, stunning natural landscapes, just perfect for anyone who wants to stay active.
Yeah, love it. And then there's Hoi An. Hoi An is just
It's like stepping back in time.
charming, historic, with that laid-back atmosphere. Okay, let's not forget about island life.
Right.
Phu Quoc.
Ah, yes, Phu Quoc. A true paradise, those luxurious resorts, pristine beaches. If you want a relaxing getaway, it's perfect. But as a long-term retirement destination, it might not be everyone's cup of tea.
Yeah, I can see that.
The pace of life there is very, very slow, which, can be a blessing or a curse, depending on your personality.
Yeah, depends what you're looking for.
Mhm.
Okay, so then we have Nha Trang, another coastal city, known for those, again, beautiful beaches.
Popular with the Russian tourists and expats, gives it a unique vibe.
Very unique vibe. And then for those seeking the ultimate chill, we have My Nai.
Mine is super laid back, undeveloped beach town, perfect if you just want to relax. But keep in mind, undeveloped also means limited infrastructure. It's a trade-off.
Yeah, for sure. And finally, we've got Vung Tau, Saigon's beach escape. It kind of offers a good balance, right? You've got good infrastructure, but it's still close to that economic hub of Saigon.
Yeah, so if you want the best of both worlds, beach life with easy access to the city, Vung Tau is a great choice.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from visas and business ventures to pollution, scams, exploring those beautiful retirement havens. It's a lot to take in. Hopefully this is giving you a more realistic picture of what retiring in Vietnam really looks like.
Yeah, it's all about being informed.
And being prepared.
Exactly. This is a big decision, not something to rush into.
The cost of living in Vietnam. We see all these frugal expat blogs out there claiming that you can live on almost nothing.
Yeah, but honestly, we want you to enjoy your retirement.
Right, not just survive.
Exactly. We want you to be able to, savor those delicious meals, explore those landscapes, and really experience everything Vietnam has to offer without having to worry about money all the time.
So we're going to get real about what it actually costs to live comfortably here. We'll break down those costs, compare prices in the big cities versus those smaller towns, and talk about those little unexpected expenses that sometimes pop up. Because they always do,
Yeah,
right?
they always do.
Always.
What does it actually cost to, retire comfortably in Vietnam? We want you to enjoy your golden years, not just, scrape by, right?
Exactly. We want you to be able to enjoy those delicious meals, explore those amazing landscapes, really to experience everything that Vietnam has to offer without constantly stressing over money.
Exactly. So let's start with a baseline, shall we? For a comfortable lifestyle in the bigger cities like Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh City, you're probably looking at, around $2,000 per month at least.
That covers what? Decent accommodations, healthcare, food, a bit of entertainment.
Yep, the whole 9 yards. Now, if you're more drawn to those smaller cities, those charming little towns, you can potentially shave a bit off that, bring it down to maybe around $1,200 per month.
That's a significant difference.
It is. It really adds up over time. But remember, we're talking about maintaining a good standard of living here. We always see those frugal expat blogs out there, the ones claiming you can live on $800 a month, but that often involves some serious compromises.
Right, like maybe skimping on healthcare, living in a less desirable area, or missing out on those little treats that make life enjoyable.
Precisely. Retirement should be about, embracing life, not just getting by.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's break down some specific costs just to give our listeners a clearer idea. Let's start with, dining out. How much should people budget if they enjoy, exploring those restaurants, trying new things, especially maybe international cuisine?
Well, for, let's say, a casual dining experience, you're probably looking at around $10 or more per meal. And if you want something a bit fancier, a nice restaurant, you're looking at, I'd say, at least $30 or more per person.
Okay, but one of the best things about living in Vietnam is the local food.
Oh, absolutely.
It's incredibly affordable and absolutely delicious.
You can eat like royalty on a budget here.
For real. A big bowl of pho, some bun ryu, maybe a banh mi for $1 or $2. You can't beat that.
And don't forget the coffee. That strong Vietnamese coffee, café. It's a must-try, and it'll only set you back like $1 a cup.
I love it. All right, so what about accommodations? Rent can be a big part of anyone's budget. What are we looking at in terms of, apartments, houses?
Well, in Hanoi or Saigon, for a decent one-bedroom apartment in a good neighborhood, you're probably looking at anywhere from, I'd say, $300 to over $1,000 per month.
Wow, there's quite a range there.
There is, and of course, the closer you are to the city center, the more amenities you want, the higher that price tag is going to climb.
But in places like Hoi An, for example, you might be able to snag a spacious two-bedroom house for around $600 or maybe a bit more.
Yeah, those smaller cities definitely offer some savings on rent.
All right, so let's talk about some of those unexpected costs, those hidden costs that people might not be aware of. What are some of those things that can catch people off guard?
Let's see. Well, for example, gym memberships and swimming pool access, those can be surprisingly expensive here.
They can.
Yeah, for a decent gym, you're looking at, $20 to $100 per month, depending on the gym and its location. And if you want regular access to a swimming pool, that could be another $5 or more per visit.
Wow, okay. What about food? Anything specific to watch out for there?
Oh, imported food, especially if you're a cheese lover. Be prepared for sticker shock when it comes to imported cheese.
Imported cheese?
It's considered a real luxury here in Vietnam. It's a good example of how some things that are totally affordable back home, can cost a premium here.
So really, it's all about being aware of those little details
Yeah.
and I guess, adjusting your expectations accordingly.
Exactly.
Okay, so look, it's not all sunshine and roses here in
Right.
Vietnam, but overall, when you compare it to many Western countries, Vietnam still offers a very, very affordable lifestyle,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
And for many people, that's a huge part of the appeal,
Yeah, it is.
especially when you factor in that incredible food, the welcoming culture, and the stunning scenery. It's a pretty irresistible combination.
It is. But like we've been discussing, there are also those challenges, those things you need to consider, like the visa situation, the pollution levels in some areas, and of course, the potential for scams.
Right, it's all about weighing those pros and cons, figuring out if Vietnam really aligns with, with your vision of what retirement looks like for you. And that's where, I guess, the try before you buy route
Mhm.
comes in, right?
Absolutely. Come experience Vietnam firsthand before making any big decisions. Spend a few months here, explore different cities, soak it all in and see if it feels like the right fit for you.
That's the best way to really understand what it's like to live here day to day, to see if this is the place where you can truly picture yourself spending those golden years. Welcome back to our final part of this deep dive into retiring in Vietnam. We've covered a lot of ground, haven't we? From those visa quirks to navigating healthcare and even, yeah, the price of that imported cheese.
Right.
Hopefully you're feeling a bit more clued in on what this adventure could really look like.
I think we've given a pretty balanced view, showing both the amazing opportunities and, let's be honest, some of those unique challenges that come with choosing Vietnam as your retirement spot.
Right, and as we wrap things up, there's one last thing, one more really crucial piece that we want to really hammer home. Having a solid financial plan is key. It's really the bedrock of a successful, enjoyable retirement, no matter where you end up.
It really is. It's the blueprint, like the name of the show, right?
Right.
And when it comes to retiring overseas, especially in a region like Southeast Asia, a solid plan becomes even more important. You've got those currency swings, tax implications, and of course, just the whole challenge of managing your money across different countries.
It can seem overwhelming sometimes.
Oh, it can be a maze. But that's where a firm like ours, Wealth Architects Global, can really help. We specialize in working with expats, especially those here in Asia, to help them create a financial roadmap that really works for them. It's about making sure you feel confident and secure as you start this exciting new chapter.
You take a really holistic approach, right? Looking at everything, investment strategies, tax optimization, even estate planning.
Absolutely. We look at the whole picture.
And beyond that personalized guidance, you've also got a bunch of resources on your website, right? Like articles and guides, even those calculators that can help people estimate their retirement costs in Vietnam.
We do. We try to provide as much valuable information as we can. And we also offer free consultations. So anyone listening, feel free to reach out if you've got questions or if you just want to chat about your own situation.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, as we close out this deep dive into retiring in Vietnam, I want to leave you with this final thought. Retiring abroad is a pretty amazing adventure. It's a chance to reinvent yourself, to experience a whole new culture, and make those memories that'll last a lifetime.
Vietnam, with its unique blend of, well, its beauty, its affordability, that incredible energy, it can be a really special place to spend your golden years. But you need to go into it with open eyes.
Do your homework.
Plan carefully.
Embrace the adventure, but do it strategically. And remember, whether you're picturing yourself in those bustling streets of Saigon, maybe soaking up the ancient charm of Hanoi, or those tranquil beaches of Da Nang, Wealth Architects Global is here to help you every step of the way. We'll work with you to create that financial blueprint that gives you the freedom to live the retirement you've always wanted, wherever in the world that might be. So until next time, stay adventurous, stay informed, and as we say here in Vietnam, ciao. Thanks for joining us on the Expat Financial Blueprint.